I just got laid off from Meta. As of yesterday, I am officially unemployed. This is a very interesting situation that I have actually never been in before. This is my first time being laid off, which is quite remarkable, actually, given how long I've been working and some of the various situations that scenarios that I've been working in, and the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. I managed to not get laid off during all of that, but my luck has finally run out, and I am now jobless. this is this is interesting. This is very interesting. So, the story as to how I was working at Meta and now I am no longer working at Meta is this. So at Meta, there's actually two types of employees. There are direct employees that are employed directly by Meta. They're called FTEs, or full-time employees. And then the other type of worker are called contingent workers. And these are employees who are employed by a separate company, but then Meta has contracted with that company to provide employees for a specific role. So I was a contingent worker. I was not directly employed by Meta. I worked for a different company, and we had the contract to staff a particular team. And I've been working at Meta for just over 5 years now. So I've been there for quite a while. But about a year and a half ago, they created a new team, and I was approached and asked if I wanted to join this new team that was being created. And my company had contracted with Meta to staff this particular team. So I looked at it and I was like, I mean, it looks like a good opportunity. It was fully remote. Previous to that, I had been working at a data center. So I was on site every day. And this new team was fully remote. So it eliminated my commute, and I no longer had to go on site at all. So that was probably the biggest reason why I opted to join that team. Well, there were other reasons. I kind of getting kind of tired of the previous role that I had been in for about 3.5 years, and so it was time for something new. So, anyways, I joined the team, even though in the back of my mind there was there was kind of a nagging thought. I'm like, this new team, they're creating it just kind of out of thin air, and if they ever wanted to do some cuts or layoffs, which Meta over the last few years has definitely been doing a lot of layoffs. I had the thought, I'm like, it I don't know how secure this new team is going to be. But I took the job anyway, and I moved over to that new role, and I've been, like I said, I've been working for it for about the last year and a half, and the fully remote, no commute job has been awesome. It has really been great working from home. But we got the word that Meta was looking to find a different company. Well, not necessarily a different company, but they were changing the role. After a year and a half, they wanted to change uh, a fair number of things about the role. Namely, it was no longer going to be remote. They wanted it to be staffed on site at two locations. Neither of the locations are where I'm located. So once we heard that, even if my company had gotten the contract, I wouldn't have been able to stay in the role because I'm not in a position to be able to move. And so the silver lining to all of this is I've actually had a couple months heads up knowing that this was coming. And so I've had time to kind of mentally prepare and kind of get myself situated. I know a lot of times, like when Meta has done layoffs, well, not just Meta, but most companies. I mean, you roll into work and open up your email, and it says you've been let go and return the laptop, and that's it. And it's out of the blue, and it's just very abrupt. And fortunately, that was not my my experience. I did have a couple months notice, forewarning that this was going to happen. So yeah, so my company, after the review process that they went through, my company was not awarded the contract. And so for the last month or so, we've known for sure that this was coming to an end. And so yeah, I've kind of mentally, I've been getting used to the idea. And as of yesterday, it's official. I'm unemployed. I'm joining the ranks of the many tens of thousands of people who have been laid off in the last few years. It is so interesting to me how companies have significantly shifted their mindset when it comes to layoffs. It used to be years ago, many decades ago, layoffs were not really a thing. But then companies, they kind of transitioned over to where, oh, if things are rough, if the economy's not doing well, if the business isn't doing well, we will do layoffs. But it was kind of a option of last resort. It was like, hey, we've exhausted all other options, and we have to let people go because things are not going well. But that's no longer the case now. Layoffs seem to be kind of in response to the opposite situation. Recently, in the last month or so, Microsoft reported one of their best quarters ever, just billions of dollars in profit, and in response they laid off 6,000 people, which is, I don't understand that. Except that I think maybe the people at the top are starting to figure out, or conclude that, why should they pay people under them when every dollar that goes to an employee is one less dollar in their pocket? Why pay an employee when you could just keep the money yourself, right? And so um I don't know. I don't know. It must be nice at the top, I guess. But yeah. So, anyways, so you're probably wondering, like, what my situation is as far as first time unemployed. What my plan is. Uh, I was talking to my sister, and I talked to her about this when I first found out that this was likely going to happen. This was a couple months ago. And I was explaining to her, I'm like, yeah, so I'm very likely getting laid off, and my job is coming to an end. And so I told her about it. And she said, you know, uh, y- it's interesting because you don't sound nearly as concerned as I would have uh, predicted you would be. She says, you sound much calmer about it than I would have thought. And she's right. I mean, I wasn't freaking out. I wasn't like, oh, panicking, like, oh, what am I gonna do? Um, and I think it's because I think I've been preparing for this for many years. Uh, for sure, mentally. I think back in the '08 recession, back in 2008, 2009, uh, the job that I was in, I was working for a semiconductor manufacturer, and that market absolutely tanked in that recession. I mean, we were hurting bad, and that was my introduction to uh, the possibilities of layoffs. And so for the last 15 years, I've just always had it in my mind that, like, yeah, a job is just a very precarious and not stable position to be in. It used to be, for decades ago, it was like, oh, go to school, get a job, get a good, secure, safe job, and you'll have security. That doesn't exist. I mean, anybody who has a job is, one Excel spreadsheet away from getting removed, let go, right? Like, they build out a spreadsheet, and they're like, okay, here's the criteria, here's every employee, and here's how much we pay them, here's what they contribute, et cetera, et cetera. And then they decide, okay, this one, they're gone. Like, I mean, it's just it's like a numbers thing, right? And so that's how close you are to being laid off. And I think I've just always had that in my head that losing my job is just something that will just happen. I mean, it of course I could lose my job. Like, yeah. The other element of it is that I've never been one who really puts too much stock into my job being my identity, right? Like, I've always just looked at it as like a transaction. It's like, oh, I have this company and they need something done. They need X, Y, and Z done. I will perform X, Y, and Z and they'll pay me in exchange. So I get money in exchange for doing X, Y, and Z. And I've never looked at it as anything more than just a transaction. Like, I don't look at it like work is not my family, right? I don't have an emotional connection to the work. I don't have an emotional connection to the people I work with. I don't have any sort of identity like, oh, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is my thing. Like, I've never had any of that. I've always just looked at it as a very transactional relationship where it's, yeah, I do this and they pay me that. It's kind of like how you would approach being served food. You go to a restaurant, like, you don't have an emotional connection to the waiter. I mean, they come out and, they're very friendly and, they're, oh, how are you doing today? I'm going to be the one taking care of you today. Um, but there's no actual relationship there, right? Like, they're there to serve a function. You're there to serve a function. And you have things that the other individual wants, and you exchange them, right? And that's as far as the relationship goes. And that's just how I've always approached work. Um, and so in losing, well, not really in quotes, like, I really did lose the job. I was let go. I was fired. I was laid off. Not through, lack of, effort on my part or performance. I mean, I did a good job. I always got glowing performance reviews. But again, there's the thing, like, it doesn't matter how good of a job you do. That doesn't mean you're not, a blink away from being let go, right? Through no fault of your own. It was through no fault of mine that Meta decided to contract with a different company. It wasn't through any fault of my own that Meta decided that they wanted to transition the role from being remote to located in a location where I'm not able to move to, right? So these are things that are outside of my control, and that's just how jobs are. You have things that you can't control, and you have things that you can. And I recognize that I'm not going to stress over or lose sleep over the things that I can't control. So what can I control? Well, that moves me to the third reason why I'm not super, uh, I'm not panicking, right? Like, I'm not in panic mode right now. And that is because about 5 years ago, actually, ironically, during the pandemic, um, financially, things were looking really good. My wife had a job, not a high paying job, but it was a job, and I had a job, and I also had a business that I had been running for a few years prior to that, and I was kind of in a process of transitioning out of that business and selling it. And so, not for a ton of money. This isn't like some major exit where, I'm like, sweet, I get to retire. No, it wasn't anything like that. But what that did do is create three incomes for our household: my wife's job, my job, and then for a limited period of time, uh, the the payments from the sale of the business. And those lasted for about a year. So during that time period, we were looking pretty good, right? Three incomes in our household. Now, I'm the kind of person who doesn't just run out and just, throw a party like, woohoo, time to party. Let's spin, baby, right? Like, I'm not that kind of person. Uh Quite the opposite, in fact. I looked around at our situation and I thought, this is looking pretty good, but this is not going to last. uh, the phrase that I had in the back of my mind that just kept coming back to me was, hard times are coming. And so my philosophy became, I am going to make every possible use and take every possible advantage I can from these good times to set myself up for the inevitable hard times that I know are coming. Well, I didn't know they were coming, but I strongly suspected. So what did we do? What did we do to prepare? What was my approach? Number one, eliminate debt. I wanted to get us to a position where we were completely debt free. This is something that years ago I would have never even contemplated. Like the idea of being completely debt free, totally incomprehensible. Like what? How is that impossible? What? How do you get out of debt? Like even if you're really frugal, I mean, you still have car payments, you still have a house payment. Like how do you get debt free, right? Well, I will tell you, it can be done. It absolutely can be done. So I and my wife really just buckled down and really became hyper focused on becoming entirely debt free. And this did two things. One, it got us out of debt. When you don't have debt, you are free. You are so free. Debt is a chain that just buries you. It just pulls you down and buries you. But the second thing, when you become debt free, you begin to create a lifestyle that is sustainable. What is not sustainable? Not sustainable is living beyond your means, spending more money than you earn. But what is sustainable is living significantly below your means, significantly spending significantly less than you earn. That means that what you require, the amount of money you require to survive on a month to month basis, has now been reduced dramatically because you've created a lifestyle for yourself where you don't have to spend much money to live. So not only are you debt free, but you don't have to spend much money. And I'm going to make more videos about this in the future. I'll definitely talk about this more and go into this further because I think there's a lot of value to be had in creating a mindset around money that is sustainable. You know, we tend to get really into the weeds and like these budgeting apps and like, oh, you got to track every penny and you've got to run these calculations to determine how much car you can afford and how much house you can afford and take your income and your assets and then this is how much payment at what interest rate. I, I don't mess with any of that. I've never used a budgeting app. I've never, in the last 5 years, in the last 15 years, I've never tracked my spending like 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 every single penny. So I did all of this through kind of unconventional means. I'm not saying that budgeting apps are bad. I'm not saying that tracking your spending is bad. I am absolutely not saying that. But what I'm saying is that those methods may not be the thing that's going to actually create financial freedom for you, that there may be another way. And I I used a different way. And so again, I'm going to create more videos and to talk about this further. Um, but the bottom line is, yes, I'm unemployed. That's unfortunate. I would very much prefer to not be unemployed. However, I have I feel confident that I've done everything I could over the last 5 years to prepare for this moment. And so in subsequent videos, I am going to talk about the things that I did to prepare. And so if you have a job and you're looking to set yourself up for that inevitable layoff, that hard time that's coming, that is out there, because it really is. We're moving into a different time. The days of the employment days of the past are quickly ending, if not already gone. We are moving into a new era where it is going to be even more important that we get financially fit. And so I'm looking forward to the future. I feel confident for the future. I feel optimistic for the future, and I'm going to share that with you in future videos. So, thanks for watching.